Thank you, Mr. CEO. Hello everybody and welcome to this evening's agenda briefing for our ordinary council meeting for the 26th of February 2024. Meeting opening at 7 p.m. here at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall for tonight, the 19th of February. Council would like to show its respect and acknowledge all of the traditional custodians on the land in which we meet and show our respect to elders past and present. I note this evening with no one in the gallery, there's no disclaimer to be read. However, the recommendations that are contained in this agenda are officers' recommendations only and should not be acted upon until Council has resolved to adopt those recommendations. Check. The resolutions of this particular meeting should be confirmed by perusing the minutes of the council meeting at which these recommendations were considered. Members of the public should also note that they act at their own risk if they enact any resolution prior to receiving official written notification of council's decision. This evening around the table have the Deputy Mayor Kirsty Della, Councillor Deborah Bodica, Councillor O'Donnell, Councillor Turner and Councillor Viskovich, with apologies from Councillor Winner, Councillor Johnson and Councillor Brownlee. We're joined tonight by our CEO, the Director of Development and Growth, the Director of Community Development, the Director of Corporate Commercial, the Director of Engineering, the Acting Executive Manager of Finance, the Executive Manager of Governance and Risk Services, alongside governance officers and IT systems admin. Councillors, I have received some disclosures for this evening, which I'll get to now. One from Councillor Turner, item 15.3.1, North Kalgoorlie Cricket Club facility upgrade. Impartiality has family members who play at the club and are life members. Also one from the Deputy Mayor, Kirsty Della, on 15.2.1, the Hockey WA sponsorship and impartiality, a player and member. And one from our Director of Community, Director Hicks, in regards to item 15.3.1, the North Kalgoorlie Cricket Club lease, a financial interest for that particular item. The committee member and also chair of North Kalgoorlie Cricket Club Clubhouse Subcommittee is her husband's business partner and her son plays for North Kalgoorlie Cricket Club. As there are no decisions being made at this evening's meeting, Director Hicks is able to stay in the room for that discussion. Moving on to look at the agenda for next week, we do have a notice of motion which has previously been given councillors from Councillor Turner. However, we do tonight take the opportunity to note the officer recommendations and the reports, starting off with 14.1.1, the Audit and Risk Committee minutes, the probity review. Mr. CEO, over to you for item 14.1.1 and a briefing.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is just the minutes from the Audit and Risk Committee. That item has been actioned now. The successful tenderer has been advised of the outcome and will proceed accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any questions of the CEO? No, thank you, Mr. CEO. Item 15, reports of officers, also from the CEO, but this one is under the finances, and we invite tonight the Acting Executive Manager of Finance, Casey Radford, to take to the podium this evening to introduce the Statement of Financial Activity December 2023.
So this report tonight is just our regular monthly statutory financial report for the month of December, and it reports our variances plus or minus $50,000 or 10%.
Thank you, Casey. Any questions of the Acting Executive Manager of Finance? None taken, thank you. The next item is also yours, the 15.1.2, the Accounts Payable Report for January 2024.
Yes, this report is also one of our statutory reports. It is the list of payments made in January from the municipal trust accounts of the city, totalling $13.3 million.
Thank you. Any questions, councillors? None taken. Thank you, Casey. Stick there. We do have the commercial business reports for December 2023.
These reports are the Q2 year-to-date commercial committee reports for our commercial businesses and a report on key operational activities and our financial results year-to-date.
Councillors, any questions on those reports, noting that there are 7 attachments to that particular item for 15.1.3? No questions at this point? Thank you, Casey. 15.14, mid-year review of the annual budget 2023-24.
Okay, so this report is about the mid-year review, which has been completed, and forecasts for the rest of the financial year have been done. The forecasted surplus of $202,000 and with a $1.5 million improved position on operations.
Thank you, Casey. Any questions, councillors, on the mid-year review? No questions taken. Thank you. And one more. Item 15.15, the budget development timetable for, can you believe, 2024-25.
Yes, this report is the start of our preparations beginning for next year's budget. It just outlines the key dates of the budget period and the timings around the public notice and application for ministerial approval for our rates, which are legislated.
Thank you, Casey. Any questions, councillors? None taken. Thank you. Thank you, Casey. Tonight, as the Acting Executive Manager of Finance. Item 15.16, 2024 Australian Local Government National General Assembly. Mr CEO, a report has been prepared.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. The Annual General Assembly is being held in Canberra, 2nd to the 4th of July. As is the usual practice, ALGA calls for motions to be considered at the conference. This year's theme is Building Community Trust, and there's a number of priority areas within that. Many of those are relevant to the City of Kalgoorlie, and as such I think it's appropriate that we consider any submissions or any agenda items that we wish to push forward. The time frame for that is usually fairly tight, noting that if we do put any motions forward we need to be represented at the Congress as well. Both the Mayor and CEO are already authorised to attend. We have an opportunity for we've called for opportunities for other councillors to attend. At this stage we're recommending that if there's 2 other councillors who'd like to attend, we can add their names to the list. So if you can let me know before next week, I'll add those to the agenda.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Any questions, first of all, before we ask for any nominees to come forward for that recommendation for next week? 15.16, any questions on that? Councillor Turner? Microphone, please, Councillor Turner.
So I see that one of the priority areas is housing and homelessness. So I would think that given the state of the housing market here, and it's tied around the whole state, so that would be something that I would hope that we would look at perhaps having some discussion about putting a motion towards for that. There's also the emergency management there, and we've obviously just been through our power outage, which I think our emergency management worked quite well, but we can always improve. And then we've got roads and infrastructure and the climate change. So I think they're very, very topical for our region at the moment. So I think I would be very disappointed if we didn't do it. So if we could look at, would we do a workshop? Is that my question I'm asking, or?
Sure. Thank you, Mr CEO. What's your direction on creating a motion to send to NGA?
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. Generally speaking, if councillors can just identify the key areas that they want to address, then we'll draft up a motion and background report, and then council consider that further, and then we'll submit that through to ALGA for consideration.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? Do we have any names of councillors who wish to attend? Councillor Turner, Councillor Viskovich and the Deputy Mayor. Mr CEO, we do have 2 councillors on that officer recommendation. Are you happy with 3?
3, Mr Mayor. Yeah, certainly we can consider sending 3 councillors. We have done in previous years. We've sent more than the 2. The issue will be in next year's budget now, so we just need to look at how that aligns with the councillors' training budgets.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Councillors, any questions? Interesting note there from you, Mr CEO, that the next year's budget, it is on the 2nd to the 4th of July 2024. No other further questions, councillors. We'll move on. Elected member continuing professional development policy, item 15.17 is also with you, Mr CEO.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. The council or elected member continuing professional development policy has been updated, or been reviewed, I should say. We're putting it back. Obviously, it has to be adopted by council as a legislative requirement. I'm not sure if there's anything that the exec manager wants to open up. So really, it is just to get back there and get council to adopt it. Thank you, Mr CEO. Councillors, any questions on the policy?
None taken, thank you. Item 15.2.1 under Development and Growth, Hockey WA sponsorship 3-year service agreement with an impartiality from the Deputy Mayor. Director of Development and Growth.
Thank you, Mayor. Council's asked to consider a 3-year sponsorship arrangement in partnership with Hockey WA, the Eastern Goldfields Hockey Association and the City. The sponsorship will see the Premier 1 League of WA Hockey hosted for 3 years in Kalgoorlie for 2 matches. Having assessed this against the cost of other similar events is considered to be good value and an excellent return for the community and for local sports.
Thank you, Director. Stick there. Any questions, councillors? None taken. Thank you. Item 15.2.2, Kalgoorlie-Boulder Fair Society sponsorship.
Thank you, Mayor. The City has received an application from the Kalgoorlie Community Fair to sponsor the fair for 2024. In considering the application, it was noted that Crookshanks was referenced as the location. However, in accordance with previous communications with the fair, the City is unable to support Crookshanks as a location. The report recommends that we provide sponsorship of $60,000 cash and $10,000 in kind to support the fair being held at the Oasis playing field. In considering the amount of sponsorship recommended, council staff have gone through in detail previous submissions and the current sponsorship application and looked at costs the City has previously incurred in running large events at the Oasis to come up with a figure that the City is confident that would allow the community fair to proceed forward at the Oasis playing grounds. The report recommends that council support the sponsorship.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Councillors, any questions of the Kalgoorlie-Boulder Fair Society? Councillor Turner.
Okay, so just through the Mayor to the Director. So I see that it's significantly more than last year, which obviously the City's taken into consideration the infrastructure costs that's noted in the report there, so that we have acknowledged that there'll be some infrastructure costs having it at the Oasis. I would think that we've obviously weighed up for and against. There'd be probably a lot more costs if we had to even try and put any kind of remedial works into Crookshanks. So it's probably a much more sounder use of the budget to actually move that to Oasis and increase the costs as the officers have recommended.
Sorry, Councillor Tudor, I'm just not sure what the question is.
I'm asking, did we increase the amount, or did the fair ask for more money, basically? Because
Director, just before you do answer, you're right.
The sponsorship application itself was for $60,000 and $10,000 in kind to be hosted at Crookshanks Sporting Arena. However, we provided a much lower amount of funding in 2022, and the fair returned a cash in bank profit from their audited statements of $45,000. So based on that amount and their conservative prediction provided by the fair around gate numbers in assessing the application, if it had been supported in an alternate location that was similar to the one, I guess, asked for by the fair, the full amount wouldn't have been recommended by officers.
Thank you, Director. Mr CEO, did you want to add to that? No, you're all good. Thank you. Councillor Bodica.
Thank you. On page 7.8 of the application from the fair, Mr Weiss, the committee are actually saying that they don't know what the costs are at this stage. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly? They said costs we can't guess due to the day how many arrive, but we'll have our expenses set in from the past ones. That's what they've said in the document. Is that normal, or?
No, it's not normal, and normally people applying for sponsorship are required to complete proper kind of budgets for the event and to ascertain appropriate costings to allow council to appropriately consider the request.
Yeah, because I thought that wasn't really normal. Sorry,
Councillor, is there another question?
Yeah, there was. Yep. So the $60,000 that we're giving is based on them not actually knowing how much the costs are that they'll be having incurred for the fair. Is that correct? And the $10,000 in kind.
The 60,000 is actually it's recommended on efforts to support the fair and work undertaken by city staff to estimate the cost at running the event, given that they haven't provided the information. We have spent considerable time going through previous submissions and acquittal costs and our own costs of running events to ascertain the figures used to arrive at the recommended sponsorship amount.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any further questions of the Director? One for the Director. Was Crookshanks ever considered to be a safe option by our staff?
No, Mayor.
Thank you. Item 15, no further questions. Item 15.2.3, application for planning approval. Director?
Mayor, I might hand over to the CEO. Apparently we have an update from the applicant.
Yeah, thank you. Through the Mayor, we were advised just before the meeting tonight that the applicant has requested to withdraw the application, so that will not appear in next week's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, and thank you to the Director of Development and Growth. 15.3, listed under Community Development. However, I will bring in the Director of Engineering for this one and note that there are two, I should say. Disclosures for this particular item, one from a councillor, Councillor Nadia Turner with an impartiality, and also Director Hicks with a financial. As there is no decision-making process this evening, Director Hicks is able to stay in the room.
Okay, item 15.3.1 is North Kalgoorlie Cricket Club are requesting a new lease from council. They currently have a lease at Wallace Park, which is reserve number 1126, and are looking at foregoing that lease and building themselves a new clubhouse beside the current club rooms that are there.
Thank you, Director. Any questions on that construction? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I was just, I suppose, referring to the Oasis playing fields where we've had a peppercorn lease for 21 years and there's been damage done due to what's been held at the premises. I'm just wondering, moving forward, what sort of, I suppose, restrictions are we putting on the building and the capacity to what it needs to hold so that the city doesn't become liable for damages for the building in the future?
Director.
Get through the Mayor. Currently, there has been no restrictions put on the build. The building would be built by North Cal Cricket Club, and they'll take sole ownership of that build and be responsible for everything on the outside and inside.
Supplement?
Go ahead.
So they will be insuring the building and doing any maintenance to any damage in the future?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Councillors, any further questions on 15.3.1? Councillor Viskovich.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to confirm, in most peppercorn leases, they would have to remove the building at the end of the term. What would be the case in this instance?
At the end of the lease, it would be a make good. So the lease is only for the land. So it's a land-only lease where they put the building on top. So very similar to the Kalgoorlie Basketball Association and what they're building out there.
Thank you. No further questions? Thank you, Director. Item 15.4.1, paving and miscellaneous concrete works tender T005-2324.
Thank you. Council's just asked to consider the one submission we received for the small concrete and paving works for 23-24.
Thank you, Director. Councillors, any questions on that? Councillor Turner.
Just a question. I see that it's consistent with current budget allocations. Will this mean once this tender is awarded, we might see some paving and some work getting done around the city?
Councillor Turner, that's the intent of the engineering department. Once this is up and running, we'll start getting into some paving.
Thank you, Director. No further questions. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Director. Item 15.5, Corporate and Commercial. 15.5.1, Airport Long-Term Parking Permit. Director of Corporate and Commercial, Glenda Abraham.
Thank you, Mayor. The proposal represents an opportunity for us to use considered lazy land from the overflow car park where we have limited numbers of vehicles parked, frees up the capacity inside closer to the terminal area for short-term parking arrangements and provides additional income to the city.
Thank you. Any questions of the Director for item 15.5.1? Councillor Turner?
I just, through the Mayor, I know we have had some discussion to get to this point. With the permit parking, can you give me a little bit of a background about how you're thinking it will work and the costs involved there?
So there is a proposal for process to address the situations that were raised in the forum previously by council around limitations to the number of users. So we're capping at a number of 10 of the permits, and we're also going out for an expression of interest in local papers and social media to enable people to apply for those.
Thank you. Any further questions, councillors? 15.5.1. No further questions. Thank you, Director. Councillors, that concludes our agenda briefing for this evening. Thank you to the staff tonight for presenting those reports to us, and our ordinary council meeting will take place here at the Kalgoorlie Town Hall in 1 week's time, 26th of February at 7 p.m. Thank you again, councillors and staff.